In 1879 New Mexico, one cowboy's desperate shout, "Enough, I'll take them!" became the moment fate shifted. He didn't just save 3 Apache girls. He stepped into a destiny written long before he arrived. Like, subscribe, and tell me where you're watching from. And let's get started. Luke Carver stepped off his horse, boots hitting the dry dirt as the trading post buzzed with restless tension. Dust swirled beneath wagons and worn-out boots, but his attention locked instantly on the 3 Apache girls. Their small forms surrounded by rough men who smelled of whiskey, sweat, and trouble brewing hot. Their wrists were bound with coarse rope, cutting into raw skin. Their faces streaked with dust and fear, yet their backs remained straight with quiet strength. Strange tribal markings, faint yet glowing in the fading desert light, appeared almost alive across their arms. Luke's stomach twisted with anger. The trader's voice cut through the air, sharp as a knife. $2 for the oldest, he barked. $1 for the small ones. His words crashed against Luke's ears like thunder. He wasn't selling supplies, he was selling human lives. Luke clenched his fists, jaw tightening hard. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Some eyes turned away in shame, others watched with ugly curiosity. The Apache girls stood silent, trembling just slightly, their breaths shallow. Luke felt heat rise in his chest, hotter than the desert sun. This wasn't a trade. This was cruelty. And he couldn't walk away. The oldest girl lifted her gaze slowly, her dark eyes meeting his. Fear trembled there, but beneath it burned defiance, an ember refusing to die. That look pierced straight through Luke's heart. Without thinking, he slammed his hand on the trader's counter, wood rattling. "Enough, I'll take them!" His voice thundered. The crowd erupted in murmurs, some surprised, some amused, some angry. The trader glared at Luke, suspicion narrowing his eyes. "You aiming to cause trouble, cowboy?" Luke stared him down, unmoving. "Just freeing what should have never been taken." He tossed coins on the counter. "Cut the ropes." Silence heavy, the trader obeyed. As the rough ropes fell away, the girls stood uncertain, hesitation mixing with relief. Luke knelt, keeping his movements slow. "You're safe now," he whispered. He didn't expect them to understand every word, but his tone carried truth. The smallest girl touched her freed wrist, eyes widening like she'd almost forgotten freedom. Luke guided them gently toward his horse, but the girls halted. Their gazes shifted to the horizon, toward the ridges burning orange under the dying sun. Something unsettled flickered in their eyes. The middle sister pointed with a trembling finger, marking a symbol in the dirt using her toe. The symbol glowed faintly for a moment, almost supernatural. Luke blinked, unsure if it was his imagination. But the girl's fear deepened. He followed their gaze and then saw it. Far off on the ridge, dark figures on horseback appeared like shadows stretching across the land, raiders, Apache hunters. Men who stole children. Luke's heartbeat hammered. So that was why they had been captured. These raiders weren't after trade, they were reclaiming what they thought was theirs to own and punish. The girls pressed close to him, their breaths sharp. Luke's instincts roared forward, spine straightening. "Stay behind me," he murmured, hand moving toward his holster. The figures began descending the ridge slowly, confidently, dust trailing behind their horses. They weren't rushing, they were circling, waiting. Luke felt their challenge, a silent dare that clenched his jaw. The girls were trembling now, but the oldest stepped slightly in front, as if to protect her sisters despite her fear. Luke placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. "It's all right," he said softly. "I'll get you out of here." He guided them behind a supply wagon, using it as temporary cover. The girls exchanged quick glances among themselves and started drawing more symbols in the dirt circles. Arrows, zigzag lines, then Luke understood. They weren't decorations, they were warnings, directions, maps. He read enough terrain to recognize the meaning: danger on the ridge, a safe escape route through the dry riverbed, enemies flanking from the east. The girls pointed urgently, insisting he follow. Luke nodded, trusting them instantly. He led them carefully through the back of the trading post, avoiding sightlines of the approaching raiders. Every creak of wood, every shifting shadow made Luke tighten his grip on his revolver. The girls stayed close, matching his steps with surprising discipline for one so young. They were survivors. A sharp whistle cut the air. Luke ducked instinctively as a rifle shot cracked, splintering a wagon wheel inches from him. The crowd panicked, scattering like startled quail. The raiders had moved faster than expected, closing in. Luke grabbed the oldest girl's hand gently. "Run!" he commanded, pulling them with him. They darted toward the riverbed, feet pounding over dry earth. Luke fired a warning shot behind him, forcing the raiders to hesitate. Dust exploded around them as the girls sprinted, their small legs moving with desperate strength. Luke shielded them, positioning his body between them and the danger behind. They reached the edge of the dried riverbed, steep and lined with jagged stone. The girls scrambled down first, sliding on loose dirt. Luke followed, using his boots to guide his fall. Gunshots echoed above, ricocheting against canyon walls. But the raiders didn't descend, they were circling the canyon. Entrance. Luke knew they needed a path the raiders didn't know, something hidden. The girls exchanged glances again, then pointed toward a narrow crack in the rock wall. Barely wide enough for a grown man, but perfect for a small bodice. Luke hesitated only a second. "Go," he urged. "I'm right behind." The passage twisted, narrow as a breathing tube carved by time and water. Luke squeezed through, scraping his shoulders against cold stone. The girls moved quickly ahead, knowing exactly where to turn. Their tribal markings shimmered faintly in the dim light, guiding the way like ancient protection passed down generations. Finally, they spilled out into a secluded ravine, shielded by towering rocks. Safe for the moment. Luke exhaled hard, adrenaline slowly ebbing. The girls turned to him, relief softening their features. The oldest stepped forward and pressed her small hand to his chest, right over his heart, thanking him without words. Luke swallowed, touched deeper than he expected. He knew the raiders would keep searching. He also knew he couldn't leave the girls alone. Something bound them now, something stronger than chance of fate he didn't fully understand. Against the ravine walls, their markings shimmered again as if acknowledging destiny. Luke knelt before them, meeting their eyes level. "I'm not leaving you," he said quietly. "Not ever?" The girls nodded, trust finally settling into their faces. As the stars rose above the desert sky, Luke realized he hadn't just saved them. He had saved himself from a lonely life he never questioned. And somewhere beyond those canyon walls, danger still hunted. But for the first time, Luke felt something stronger than fear. He felt purpose. He felt connection. He felt the beginning of a story written long before he ever arrived at that trading post, one he was meant to follow to the end. Gunfire cracked like thunder behind them as Luke guided the three Apache girls through the narrow canyon, each shot echoing between jagged stone walls. Dust exploded around their feet, the desert trembling as hooves thundered in pursuit. The girls ran with surprising speed, driven by instinct, fear, and the memory of stolen freedom. Luke stole quick glances over his shoulder, breath burning in his chest. 6 raiders fanned out along the ridge, silhouetted against the blood-red sky. Shadows stretched long behind their horses, turning the men into dark ghosts of the frontier. Their shouts bounced off the canyon, sharp as arrows. The oldest girl tugged Luke's sleeve, pointing frantically at the canyon floor. She knelt and drew symbols with shaking finger, circles, slashes, lines twisting like rivers. Luke didn't understand the markings, but he understood desperation. Her sisters echoed her gestures, insisting with urgency he couldn't ignore. They knew the land. He nodded, trusting them without hesitation. The girls darted toward a narrow split between 2 massive boulders. Luke followed, guiding them around thorn bush and loose rocks. Above, raiders fired again, bullets sparking against stone. One ricocheted dangerously close, but the girls didn't look back, not once. Their bravery stunned him. The narrow passage forced them single file. Luke kept behind them, ready to shield them with his own body if needed. He listened to every sound, the whisper of sand, the clatter of pebbles. the distant pounding hooves growing louder. His pulse hammered like a war drum. He had to move faster. The youngest girl stumbled but quickly regained her footing, refusing to cry or slow down. Luke admired her resilience. These children had endured fear he prayed no child ever would. And yet they ran with purpose, as if guided by the spirits of their ancestors, protecting them through ancient memories. Suddenly the passage opened into a wider path, sloping downward into shadow. The oldest girl motioned for silence. Luke halted instantly, drawing his revolver. They crouched behind a pillar of stone, listening. Hoofbeats grew faint above them. The raiders had lost their trail temporarily. A brief blessing and a deadly chase. Luke exhaled slowly, sweat running down his temple. He knelt to the girl's level. "You lead." "I follow," he whispered. The oldest girl nodded firmly, more confident now that he trusted their instincts. She gestured toward a tall rock formation shaped like a broken spear. The sacred path, perhaps. Luke hoped so. They moved again, quieter than before. The canyon deepened, its walls rising like ancient guardians. Wind hummed through cracks, carrying scents of sagebrush and distant rain. The girls stepped with reverence, touching the rock at places where symbols were faintly carved. Their tribe had passed here generations ago. Luke felt the weight of history. The middle girl suddenly pressed her palm against a rock face. It glowed faintly, just like the markings on her arms. Luke blinked, unsure whether it was the light or something spiritual. But the girl whispered a soft chant, and the stone shifted, revealing a narrow, descending trail. Luke felt shivers climb his spine. They entered the hidden path, steep and twisting like a serpent. Luke guided the girls carefully, ensuring none slipped on loose gravel. Above them, faint voices echoed, raiders searching, confused by the sudden disappearance. The canyon protected its own? Luke realized the girls hadn't led him anywhere random. They brought him to safety. At the bottom of the trail lay a ravine untouched by menlush with desert grass, a spring bubbling quietly from a rock wall. Luke stared in awe. The Apache once used this sacred place as refuge. The girls approached the water and dipped their hands, whispering thanks to the land that sheltered them again. Luke filled his canteen, offering water to each girl. The youngest drank first, wiping her mouth with the back of her hand. The middle girl splashed her face, washing away dust and fear. The oldest drank last, then met Luke's eyes with gratitude that pierced him deeper than any bullet ever could. For the first time, the girls spoke softly among themselves, deciding something important. The oldest approached Luke and placed her small hand on his arm. Then she pointed at his chest over his heart. The gesture was intentional, deliberate. Luke swallowed hard. He understood he had become part of their story now. But the danger wasn't gone. A distant crack echoed from above the ravine. Raiders scouting. Luke tightened his grip on his gun, instinct surging. The girls tensed too, but instead of fear, determination filled their eyes. They trusted him. And he refused to fail them. Not after everything they survived. Night slowly cloaked the sky in indigo. Stars flickered like embers scattered across a vast blanket. Luke built a small fire, careful to hide its glow between rocks. The girls huddled close, warmed by flames and newfound safety. For the first time, they looked calm children again. Not prey. The oldest girl gestured to the sky, drawing constellations with her finger. Luke watched, fascinated as she explained their meanings through soft whispers and hand motions. The Apache stars told stories of warriors protecting children, of wolves guiding lost souls home, of destiny woven in the night. Luke felt humbled. He realized he'd saved them, but they had saved him too. Saved him from a life of drifting, from loneliness etched deep in his bones. The girl's presence filled something hollow in him, something he never acknowledged. Their courage reshaped him. Their trust bound him to them like family forged under fire. By dawn, he made a decision that settled deep in his heart. He wouldn't take them back to the trading post. He wouldn't abandon them to fate. He would find their tribe, their people, whatever remained of them. And if he couldn't, then he would protect them himself. No matter the cost asterisk, as sunlight spilled across the ravine, the girls rose quietly, standing before him. They pressed their hands together in a gesture of ancient respect. Then one by one they touched Luke's chest once more, over his heart, choosing him in return. Tears pricked Luke's eyes despite himself asterisk. He placed his hat over his chest, swallowed emotion, and whispered, "I'm with you." "Always asterisk," the girls smiled. Tiny, fragile smiles blooming like wildflowers in a harsh land asterisk together. They stepped out of the sacred ravine into the rising light of a new day. And though danger still stalked the desert, Luke knew one truth with absolute certainty asterisk. They were no longer running from something asterisk, they were walking toward a future together.